walking Una home from school, and they were like, I love your comedy. I was like, oh, thanks. And they look at Una, and they go, your dad's a great comedian. She was like, all right. You know what I mean? And I was like, I know what you mean. And we walk a few blocks. I go, Una, what do you think when people say stuff like that? And she goes, it's a waste of my time. And I was like, that's the meanest thing anyone's ever said to me. And I know Bill Burr. It's very rare that I would see my dad being a doctor. Like, I remember one time I played soccer when I was a kid. I was the goalie. And one time I dove head first for the ball, and I got to it, and then the kid on the other team kicked my head. I know. With the intensity he had intended for the ball. And I don't know the rest of the story. So a few days later, I drive home, and I take my daughter to one of her friends' birthday parties that weekend. I go to probably 200-300 children's birthday parties a year. It's a huge part of my life. My daughter has 6 friends. Last year I went to 235 children's birthday parties. The birthday party industrial complex has grown wildly out of control. It's my least favorite part of my life. I don't like it, because I just don't like my daughter's friends. Am I allowed to say that? I don't even know. I love my daughter more than anything in the world. I don't like her friends. I don't know if you've spent a lot of time with 9-year-olds you're not related to. Even the simpler genres, like homemade porn, I'm confounded by. After I have sex, all I can think is at least no one saw that. I'm never like, how were we not rolling? All right, go again. It's gonna be 40 minutes. I didn't have a sex talk growing up. When I was 12, I had hard nipples, which I'm aware isn't sex. I had hard nipples, and it's just something that happens sometimes during puberty. And I say sometimes because when I first built up the courage to share this story with my college roommate, he laughed for 5 minutes straight. And at the end of the laughter, he said to me, and I quote, he goes, I think that's just a you thing. I left out that last snippet. I'm gonna save that till when she's 15 and she tells me I'm garbage, and I'm gonna say I had some candid thoughts about you as well. When you were 7 that I withheld out of respect, but I did share with a group of strangers at the Beacon Theater in New York City. We're very emotional, but we do withhold certain things, like I withhold anger. I experience anger and I hold it in, because when I was a kid, my dad would get angry. And I remember thinking, like, I'm never gonna do that, because kids don't know a lot, but they absorb everything. Like if you're selfish, your kids know you're selfish. No, I know. Some people, that's too much. But I think what those priests did in the 80s was too much. I think my joke about it isn't nearly as bad. I don't think we should let it lie. I was raised very Catholic. It's hard to describe to my friends now how baked into my childhood religion was. But every now and then it comes up, like, Jenny and I were in an Uber recently, and a hymn from church just popped right into my head, like all the words. It was this hymn that goes, keep in mind that Jesus Christ has died for us and is risen from the dead. All of those lyrics went straight into my head. And then he looked back at me, and I looked behind me, and there was no one there. And I said to this stranger, I go, no, which is exactly what an undercover cop would say. So I don't, I've never used recreational drugs. I mean, in college, my friends would smoke pot, but I was the least fun person to smoke with. I was the guy who was like, do you guys hate me? Why does my heart hurt? Is that rickets? Who's at the door? Who's at the door? Who's at the door? Like, it wasn't a good hang. And so I just veered away from all that. But I use prescription drugs. I don't want to, but I have to because I have a serious sleepwalking disorder. About 20 years ago, I sleepwalked. I took a swing. I mean, I know the bullet points. I go, it's a brain injury, and there's bleeding in your brain. And then it was a lot of free association after that, I was like, it's your brain. Your brain is bleeding, and I'm not sure where the blood was, but I think it was like in the vessels, and they're sort of all in there, But now it's just, it's everywhere. I think. And I mean, in a way, our whole body is sort of filled with blood. This is gallons and gallons of blood all over your body. In a way, we're bleeding at all times. Maybe ask your mom about that. Ann and Jan? Or is it Jan and Ann? So Ann and Jan, you are the Broccoli Rob of this audience. I think this is hilarious. You probably do not think this is hilarious. This is your life all the time. So Ann, I want to ask you advice. If you're in this situation and you say to Jan, what are you thinking about? And he says nothing. Would you probe or would you let it lie? Probe. So Ann says probe. And Jan, would you probe or would you let it lie? Got so bad they had to put an NG tube down his throat to suck out the liquid and the gas, and he's in agony. His stomach was distended about 5 inches. And he says to me, he goes, Michael, I'm dying. And I said, Dad, I don't think you're dying. But I didn't know. And the next morning, I get a call from Jim Gaffigan, the comedian, and who I've known for years, but he had a very different tone. He goes, hey, so the Pope Francis, wants to meet a bunch of comedians, and apparently you're on the list, and I'm on the list, and I don't know, I'm gonna go. And I was surprised. Rosary beads. He gave us each a little green satchel of rosary beads that he blessed. And I brought them home to my parents in July. It was my dad's 84th birthday. And it was me and my mom and my brother Joe, my sister Jean, and my sister Patty, and all of our kids, my dad's 6 grandchildren, and we're all around my dad. And I brought him these rosary beads. And he lit up. And then my mom said, Michael, you were called by God. I want you to know. I don't think I was called by God. And when she said this, what I wanted to say was, no, I was called to one of my shows, and they were like, hey, I really enjoyed the show, but I want you to know if you ever did join a cult, Jenny would have to have sex with Leader more often than you would have to have sex with Leader. And it really sent me into a tailspin because I was like, how poorly am I conveying my humor? If someone leaves my show and they think, A, I might join a cult, and B, that if I joined a cult, that I don't know that Jenny would have to have sex with Leader more often than I would have to have sex with Leader. So I want to take this moment in the show to point out